Okay, meanwhile, President Trump is over in Davos, and he is not the celebrated voice over in Davos. The celebrated voice over in Davos is 17-year-old Greta Thunberg. I know, she's 17. I didn't know she was 17. I mean, the way the media portray her, it's like she's 14, but she's actually a 17-year-old. That does not mean she's an adult. It means she's a public figure, and she is due for any sort of criticism any other public figure would receive. I know. I was writing a syndicated column when I was 17, 18 years old. Wrote a lot of dumb stuff. Being 17 and 18 means that sometimes you say dumb stuff. So that's not on Greta Thunberg. It's on everybody who takes her seriously. And the fact that Greta Thunberg is propped up there as some sort of great intellectual force is truly astonishing because, again, her entire spiel is, I'm a child and I'm very angry. So that's her entire thing. She's a child and she's angry. And she says this. Right? She's not hiding the ball. She's a child who's angry, and she goes around yelling at adults. And the adults who wish to use that anger as a sort of club with which to beat people who disagree, they say, look at this child. Look at this child. This is an angry child. Why don't you listen to this angry child? My answer is, I generally don't listen to angry children. I have 2 of them. There's no reason for me to listen to angry children that I don't actually love. But I like my own kids. I don't know Greta Thunberg. Maybe she's wonderful. No clue. But I'm not sure why I would listen to her yell about global warming when she proposes solutions that are patently insane. And I say that advisedly. Her solutions to global warming are patently insane, and yet they are propped up by everybody in the media. She's a great heroine. We put her on the cover of magazines because her entire agenda is to go around and scream at adults about how terrible the adults are because they're not doing what she wants them to do. So this sort of raises the question, what exactly does she want them to do? Right? Because after all, if she is screaming that the adults aren't doing it, it would be good to know what exactly she wants them to do. So here's what Greta Thunberg wants the adults to do. And this has been, again, the adult Al Gore shows up and he's like, I'm here, the earth has a fever. And Greta Thunberg is the only thing that can cure this fever, the Al Gore fever. So he was there praising her. She's so important. It's deeply important. So Greta Thunberg, 17-year-old global warming wunderkind, apparently. Here was her solution to the problem of global warming. And it is crazy, guys.
We don't need a low carbon economy. We don't need to lower emissions. Our emissions have to stop if we are to have a chance to stay below the 1.5 degree target. And until we have the technologies that at scale can put our emissions to minus, then we must forget about net zero. We need real zero.
Not net zero. So net zero means that we sort of don't produce any additional emissions beyond the rates at which we are currently producing. Real zero? So real zero means that you actually shut down the entire economy of the world. Of the world. And unless you think that I'm exaggerating what exactly she is calling for, here's Greta Thunberg, what she actually said at Davos, and she was praised by the media for this. The real reason she's getting praised, of course, is because she yells at the adults. And what the left loves to do is prop up children who yell at adults. And that way, if you attack what the children are saying, if you say, listen, seems like a nice enough young woman, like I'm not arguing with her passion, that's fine. She has an agenda, that's fine too. I'm arguing with her agenda. That way the left can say, you're attacking a child, don't you see? You're attacking it. They do the same thing with regard to gun control. They love trotting out children so that they can say, you are attacking this poor victimized child? And it's like, well, no, I think that the argument's bad. I'm not attacking the kid. But the reason that the left props her up is that she says crazy things, but then she also says that she's mad at the adults. Why won't you listen to the children? The children are the wisest among us. Here's Greta Thunberg ripping on the adults. And this is what, of course, has made her a media phenomenon.
I've been warned that telling people to panic about the climate crisis is a very dangerous thing to do. But don't worry, it's fine. Trust me, I've done this before, and I can assure you it doesn't lead to anything. And for the record, when we children tell you to panic, we're not telling you to go on like before. We're not telling you to rely on technologies that don't even exist today at scale, and that science says perhaps never will.
We're telling you to panic. We're telling you to panic. I'm telling you to panic. I said I wanted you to panic. She said this 1 year ago. I came to Davos and told you our house is on fire. I said I wanted you to panic. Now, normally when anybody tells you to panic, that's a bad idea. When a child tells you to panic, you're like, no, you're a child. I'm not going to panic over the possible increase in global temperature of, at maximum, 4 degrees Celsius, according to the IPCC, over the course of the next century. In fact, what we should be attempting is mitigation, right? What we should be attempting is adaptation. This is not to say that we can't take measures that would lower carbon emissions. In fact, the United States, fracking for natural gas, has lowered our carbon emissions dramatically. Nuclear power lowers emissions dramatically. But her actual proposal, the one that's being praised, quote, "We demand at this year's World Economic Forum, participants from all companies, banks, institutions, and governments immediately halt all investments in fossil fuel exploration and extraction, immediately end all fossil fuel subsidies, and immediately and completely divest from fossil fuels. Every company is supposed to stop using fossil fuels. Every government is supposed to stop using fossil fuels. Every institution is supposed to stop using fossil fuels." She says, we don't want these things done by 2050, 2030, even 2021. We want this done now. It may seem like we're asking for a lot, and you will, of course, say that we are naive, but this is just the very minimum amount of effort that is needed to start the rapid, sustainable transition. Well, since you are talking about the end of civilization as it currently exists, yeah, that seems like a lot. I'm just going to put it out there that seems like a lot, and it does not seem justified by the available evidence. It is always easier to get people to rally around a problem than it is to get them to rally around a solution. But when it comes to big problems, you should actually be providing real solutions, not nonsense, and then trotting out children to claim that if you don't embrace solutions that literally no one is willing to embrace, right? Al Gore would not implement that. He would not. If you were president of the United States, he would not. The Paris Accords were not this. There's not an adult on the planet who sees this proposal as anything other than patently insane, and yet they're all out there like Greta Thunberg, hero of the Republic. It's so irritating and so silly. Facts don't care about your feelings, and it's a fact that The Ben Shapiro Show is the largest conservative podcast in the nation. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our content.